We're now going to review Section 2, and the first thing we're going to talk about are rimfire cartridges and centerfire cartridges. Centerfire cartridges are called centerfire because they have a primer in the center of the cartridge that the firing pin strikes, firing the bullet. The rimfire cartridge is called rimfire because the primer is actually in the rim of the cartridge. The firing pin hits that to fire the round. If you notice the difference between the centerfire cartridge and the rimfire cartridge, you'll see that the centerfire cartridges are usually much bigger than the rimfire cartridges. That's because the rimfire cartridge doesn't have enough room to put a primer in it. However, that makes it much less expensive to manufacture and much less expensive to buy and practice with. So it's often a good idea to practice with rimfire to build your skills and use centerfire for defensive, hunting, and other purposes. Cartridges are called many things. Some people call them bullets, some people call them rounds. Just to make it easy, we call it cartridge. And all cartridges are made of 4 parts. You have the bullet, which is a projectile. You have the case, which holds the bullet, the powder, and the primer. You have the primer, which is this piece right here, and then you have the gunpowder that goes inside. That's what makes up each and every cartridge of any type of firearm cartridge. There are 3 firearm malfunctions that you need to be aware of. If you pull the trigger, the firing pin hits the primer, and the primer is dented and nothing happens, you most likely have a misfire. You want to wait a few seconds, say 15 to 30, to make sure you don't have a hang fire, and then you want to take the bullet out and then dispose of it properly. The second malfunction you need to be aware of is a hang fire. That's when the firing pin hits the primer and nothing happens for a few seconds. But after a few seconds, the cartridge does fire. This is a very dangerous situation you need to be aware of, and that's why whenever you pull the trigger and nothing happens, you keep the gun pointed in a safe direction for 15 to 30 seconds to make sure nothing happens and you're going to have a hang fire. The third malfunction is what we call a squib load. A squib load happens when there's not enough power in the bullet to push the bullet all the way down range, and the bullet gets stuck in the barrel. This is not a dangerous situation unless you pull the trigger again and try to shoot another bullet. In that case, you can have your barrel explode. At a minimum, it'll bulge and possibly crack the barrel, as you can see on this barrel of this .45, where there was a squib load and the shooter fired another bullet, splitting the barrel and bulging it and completely ruining it. 2 last things we want to remind you of is this is a bullet that was thrown into a fire. Bullets thrown into a fire act like giant firecrackers. And then finally, we would like to show you a cartridge. This is a 9mm cartridge that somebody tried to fire in a .40 caliber gun. If that typically happens, the case gets ruined, the bullet flies out, nobody knows where it's going to go because it doesn't connect where it's supposed to in the barrel to fly straight. You've ruined your case, and possibly you won't be able to get this case out, and for certain your gun will malfunction.